So we're going to start in Celestial Park. Essentially how this podcast will work is I'm going to go through every single restaurant coming to Epic Universe. I'll go park by park and, land by land.
Yeah.
And list off the different dining experiences. We'll talk about what excites us about it. A lot of this Brian doesn't know about, so this is great.
I would say most of it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is going to be great because it's like I'm almost telling you things that you don't know.
Yeah, which is the best. I mean, I think a lot of these pods are like that, but I don't want to derail us here. I'd love to dig right into it.
Yeah. In all fairness, too, I knew about some of these, but a lot of them, I guess, got announced without me realizing it because there's a good chunk of these I wasn't aware about. But jumping right into it, let's talk about dining in Celestial Park. Celestial Park, of course, is going to be Epic Universe's original land. And so when it comes to dining experience here, there's several.
That's the middle of the park, right, essentially?
Yeah, it's essentially their primary hub location. And then you got these portals into the other lands.
Gotcha.
But Celestial Park will have one restaurant called the Atlantic. Atlantic will essentially be a full-service surf and turf. It's going to be inside of a Victorian aquarium, and it'll feature really beautiful views of Celestial Park. This, of course, as we just talked about, will serve as like the central hub of Epic Universe. But Universal essentially described the Atlantic as an undersea culinary fantasy where starfish dwell peacefully with serene illuminated fish swimming above you. It specializes in steak and seafood and guests will also be welcome to enjoy a cocktail at the Aquaria Bar, which I'm excited for.
Interesting. So I wonder, is it like, for lack of better words here, like sea, I don't want to say sea level, but no pun intended again there, but like ground level? Or do you think like you're going to go down into like, an aquarium, or is the aquarium going to be above? I'm trying to picture how it will look. I don't know if they've given any visuals yet.
Yeah, so they have here.
Oh, wow.
You'll see it is almost like raised up above.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of visuals and of what the actual building will look like. But I'm excited for this. I mean, you got a full service dining location. The fact that it is going to be a lot of steak and seafood specific is pretty sweet. And the fact that there's a new theme park bar called the Aquaria Bar or Aquarium Bar or whatever. That's pretty sweet too for the adults looking to go grab a cool cocktail. And I love when theme park restaurants have that bar section for those of you who just want to sit at the bar, maybe order an app and get a drink.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to kind of, for those of you that are watching this and are just listening, maybe how would you describe what that looks like?
Yeah, so it's almost like, almost like an amphitheater in a way.
Yeah.
But it's got these large pillars going up all around it. It's like this perfect, shaped building. But the fact that they have these high roofs, it looks like, it's going to be a very beautiful building from what I can tell.
Yeah, no doubt.
So jumping into another location here, again in Celestial Park, the Blue Dragon Pan-Asian Restaurant. This will serve as essentially flavors from both Asia, authentic Chinese, Japanese, and Thai meals in full-service fashion. Full-service restaurant, again, sit-down, which is great. I love that they're adding several sit-downs here, and it's not just a quick service, but Universal also stated about this one, step inside a bustling courtyard where it's always evening underneath the glow of ethereal lanterns, which is pretty cool because no matter what time of day, you're like, ooh, it's a nice, cool, dark setting.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be really cool.
No, that's awesome. I'm trying to think if there's any place that's similar to that already. I can't really think of one.
I would say, honestly, the only thing that I can think of is maybe in Mexico, the Mexico Pavilion in Epcot.
Great example. That is, yeah.
Yeah, so being in there, it feels like it's always nighttime.
Yeah, it's definitely a vibe, no doubt.
So the next one on the list from Celestial Park, the Oak and Star Tavern. So not a ton of details about this one, but it will serve barbecue. It's more quick service, and I love a cool tavern, frankly. Hopefully there's a little bar attached there too. And then there are just two more locations here in Celestial Park. We got Pizza Moon. So it's going to be pizza slices, things about that. It's not going to be I don't think extravagant, maybe more quick service oriented, but that's great for families and people alike. And last but not least, Moonship chocolates and celestial sweets. So a chance to get yourself a dessert. I'm sure similarly to some of like the confectionery at Magic Kingdom, you'll have, cases where you can choose different desserts. They'll probably do treats for certain properties at certain times of year.
Sure.
So yeah, all in all, lots of pretty solid options there for Celestial Park.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm looking forward to that first one. Not to dig right, I know we gave it enough time, but excuse me. What was the aquarium one? What was that?
Yeah, so the first one that we talked about was called the Atlantic.
The Atlantic. I think that's going to be. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
I've been to there. We have something similar. There might be one in another park, but first thing that comes to mind is SeaWorld. Mm-hmm. There is a spot like that where I think it's next to like the shark encounter at SeaWorld, but you can go in and it's actually a dining experience, but you kind of go down and then you're eating next to what is a large aquarium. It's like a wall, but it's an aquarium. But again, it's underground. You're kind of secluded. That one is very much above ground. It almost looks like you can walk by people eating outside. That's going to be a very interesting setup, the way that they've done that. And it also looked like there was some sort of bar that kind of went around. I could be mistaken. I'm just looking at the rendering there. That kind of goes around the circular aspect of the aquarium, which would be pretty cool. Have a drink there, be able to look up and just see the sea animals.
I mean, I love a good restaurant in a theme park restaurant that has good theme park views, Of
course.
And I think this could be one of them. And the fact that we're getting a more steak and seafood-centric restaurant, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not many like those at the other Universal parks or Universal City Walks. So, I mean, it seems like it's going to be like an almost fine dining experience, which is going to be cool. It'll be cool to have that inside the park. Outside of Mythos, there's not a lot of little like really highly rated high-end restaurants inside of the Universal park. So the fact that we're getting this is a big win, I think.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next land, we'll talk about Super Nintendo World. First of all, the Toadstool Cafe. Toadstool, of course, already has a location at Universal Hollywood and Universal Japan. However, if you go online and look at any of those reviews, people love it. People really, really love it. So top, of the line in terms of the offerings you can get for a quick service location. So similar, people really seem to love Minion Cafe so far. That's also at Universal Orlando. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be great, especially for the sake that, Nintendo World's going to attract so many guests. You need these big quick service locations where people can just get a meal and move on.
Yeah.
Because not everybody wants to have a full service sit down.
Right.
Right. People theme park in different ways. Some people like to just grab a snack and move on.
Yeah, and that's pretty much, again, just giving our own personal take, that's pretty much how we are. At least that's how my family is. I don't know many times that we're sitting down, other than now that we have a 1-year-old, doing character dining, right?
Yeah.
That's a really cool experience. But other than that, pretty much on the go. So I get that. I'm glad that they're doing a lot of that quick service type eatery.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be great. A few other little spots here that you'll find in Nintendo World. Turbo Boost Treats. This will join Toadstool Cafe and Yoshi's Snack Island. And this is going to basically just serve up some snacks.
Nice.
And then Yoshi's Snack Island, also more snacks. So a few other little quick service stands. Kind of like how really there's... Let me think of a comparison real quick. When you're going through the Lost Continent and Islands of Adventure, there's like those few little quick service spots.
Yeah.
Spitfire or the kebab stand. Like, great little grab and go, which, as we talked about, is perfect. Some people theme park that way. And I know you and I are very much so like, let's grab a snack and a beer and keep walking.
Yeah, 100%. And again, kind of feeding off of that idea, every time I walk by those quick service areas, there is always a line, long line. So it sounds like Epic Universe and the Universal team is probably knowing that. And it's like, let's make as many of these as possible so that nobody's really waiting in lines. which I know is always their goal. They did that at Volcano Bay when they opened that with the Tapu Tapu, making sure that people don't, actually have to stand there physically in line. So I think they do a really great job of limiting your time waiting on things. And actually, I don't want to segue because I know the part of our pod is to do that. But in terms of lines too, quickly, I don't know if you saw, but they're like getting rid of like even scanning the pass, where it's just your face now at Universal.
Yeah.
So,
I experienced that for the first time the other day.
So you didn't have to scan. You just walked up, it saw your face, and you walked in.
Yeah, it made me both impressed and also nervous. Like, like why? How did you get the information? Like,
Sure.
Is my face just on a database? Like, this guy goes to theme parks a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
How
see
cool that? Boom. Yep. Has an annual pass.
How is that? How cool is that though? Like they're going to be able to integrate that into so many different ways, where they scan your face and you walk through.
It is very cool.
Again, I get that aspect of it. It was like, okay, I'm taking pictures of everybody's face, but more importantly, what reminded me of that is limiting the lines. Being able to limit the lines to get places and get to where you need to be, because time is money. When it comes to people on vacation, they want to get there. They don't want to spend. If they have 10 hours in the day, they don't want to spend an hour of it waiting to get into the park.
100%. 100%. I mean, look at it this way. Like you said, time is money on vacations. People work all year long, sometimes just for that 1 week trip.
Right.
And they want every single day to be as perfect as possible. And especially when they're paying as much money as they are to both, Universal or Disney, visiting these major theme parks, they want their trips to go perfectly. Yep. They've worked really hard for this. Both parents, and then obviously when you have these kiddos, they want the kids to have an amazing time experiencing things for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's so important to make sure that they don't have a bad experience in waiting in a food line for 50 minutes or, working on how can we expedite even wait times for the rides, or how can we add more shows that maybe allow for less wait times. Yeah. Universal and Disney alike and theme parks all over the globe have been very meticulous in working out different strategies between virtual queue and adding more shows and adding more space and different things that can really, allow guests to get the most out of their experience.
I could not agree more. I think both parks are absolutely crushing that at multiple capacities. Even to what you said, Disney, it wasn't that long ago where they switched to even something as simple as the security line, like walking through security, and you're literally just walking through. You're not having to pull everything out. Like you can walk through the bag and they can scan. So, again, I just kudos to them for really putting the consumer first and customer first.
100%. So moving on to the next land here, Das Steakhouse will be found in Dark Universe. This is a quick service restaurant, but it is an old inn and dining hall built over the ruins of an ancient catacomb, which is spooky as all heck. I mean, check out that photo. Nice and dark and spooky. You got an old wooden tavern base.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture. It's got like a very wooden tavern, like the metal gates that you would see at the front of a castle are in there. Again, like very
haunted,
low light, haunted, what does it look like? Lit candles, very low light, very. Definitely a vibe. That's going to be pretty
It feels
bad.
like you're in like medieval times.
Yeah.
1600s. But the menu will feature burgers, kebabs, sandwiches. So they do have a lot of Eastern European food.
And where was that again?
That's in Dark Universe.
Okay.
And on top of that, what's great about it is inspired by Dracula. So you'll look around and you'll see a lot of paintings and artwork and stuff that is dedicated to Dracula, which is really cool.
Very cool.
Now, the next one I'm going to talk about with Dark Universe is something we've talked already a lot about, so we won't have to spend a ton of time. But you and I are both super excited for the Burning Blade Tavern.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
This is a quick service restaurant that is opening up in Epic Universe in the Dark Universe land. It is based off of the 1931 classic Frankenstein, and the tavern is essentially inside of an old mill that, first of all, the mill literally is on fire constantly. I don't know the technology. I don't know how they do
that. Yeah.
But
everybody would imagine get overheated. So whatever they've built to do that is pretty cool.
Just hopefully it's tall enough where no idiots are like, I want to touch it. Yeah.
Well, all right. Jared expressing his inner thoughts.
Look, okay, it's all right. But no, the fact that it's an old mill within Darkmoor's village, which is the village inside the land, its monster hunters will have transformed into their hangout. So you got trophy heads of conquered monsters all over the walls, which is cool. You got burgers, pretzels, wings, specialty beverages, and while listening to the tales of victory from the hunters themselves. So it sounds like they'll have like monster hunter actors inside of the tavern talking about like, oh, I conquered the old Frankenstein. Yeah. I don't know. That sounded more piratey, but the point is, it's going to be cool.
Did have a pirate accent.
Yeah. It sounded like Blackbeard for a second. Yeah. Anyways.
That is going to be super cool, though.
Yeah.
You get that like experience, character experience in there, too.
Arr.
Arg.
And then, of course, the last one within Dark Universe to talk about is DeLacy's Cottage. DeLacy's Cottage will serve ice cream, cinnamon bread, and other sweet snacks, which is pretty cool. And there's also some famous snacks from HHN that will be there, like Twisted Taters. People love those from HHN, which is pretty cool. This actually might be a sneaky cool spot. Well, you have not lived if you've never had a Twisted Tater.
What is a Twisted Tater?
So they're pretty infamous during HHN and during other special ticketed events. I know I've had them also during Mardi Gras before. It's essentially they take one giant potato, put it on a stick, and twist it constantly in a circle and add a bunch of spices to it. And you're just walking around eating a potato on a stick, and it's delicious.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. So I can't believe you've never experienced that.
No.
I kind of feel sad for you. We need to make
this
happen.
An empty spot. You know,
it's gonna be a vlog.
Theme park heart.
We're gonna post a vlog.
Twisted Tater.
We're gonna post a vlog on the YouTube channel, just Brian tasting a Twisted Tater for the first time. It's gonna get 12 views.
It's a single video.
But either way, if you want to check that out, check it out whenever it gets posted, maybe. Either way, try the Twisted Tater. That's what I'm saying. Okay. You gotta try one.
His pod is off the rails. He's lost it.
I've lost my mind, folks. All right, moving on to How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, which, first of all, very long name for a land. I'm just going to call it Isle of Berk, but I get why you have to include How to Train Your Dragon, because most people who haven't seen the movies, like Brian, are going to say Isle of Berk.
Yep.
Or How to Train Your Dragon, like, what is that?
Yeah.
So, Mead Hall, super excited for this. It's essentially feasting like a Viking. You're going to have big dragon heads on the walls, giant tapestries. Here, take a look at this photo here. Very open space, giant like cafeteria base, almost like Game of Thrones. Like if you watch Game of Thrones, like where they eat in those giant halls.
Yeah.
Like that's what it reminds me of, which is really cool.
All this looks, again, we're going to say this no pun intended thing all the time, but this looks epic. I mean, it just.
That's a paid ad, by the way.
I know, but like how cool is, I mean, that's, again, a pardon for any viewers that are listening, not, because I'm going to try to throw these graphics on the YouTube pod. But so forgive us for when we're like geeking out on how cool this stuff looks and can't see it. But I think Jared did a very good job describing it. And you know, if you're driving, whatever, when you land, just look it up. Just look these photos up on your own too. It looks incredible.
For sure. So I'm excited for this. It's going to serve a lot of meats, fish, sandwiches, also a collection of meads and ciders. Of course, it is called Mead Hall after all. So you know, pretty sweet. Also within Isle of Berk will be the Spitfire Grill. This is a quick service spot featuring hearty flame seared meals. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it looks like a lot of meats and you know, seared meats and things of that nature. And it looks very cool, very cottage oriented, you know, cozy. Here's a photo of that one. Very, very cool looking.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited for that one too. And then last but not least, within this land, you'll have the Hooligans Grog and Gruel. This is for a quick bite. It's just like a snack stand, essentially. You know, if you're able to check it out. So I love these little smaller snack stands. They're super important. As we talked about earlier, guests need these little options to kind of grab and go. And with Epic Universe, look, I love sitting down for a nice meal at a theme park. Don't get me wrong. I've done it many times. But with Epic Universe, this is a new theme park coming to Orlando that none of us have seen. We're all going to want to see everything.
Yeah.
So we're going to have one track in mind of let's get to the next land, the next ride, the next thing.
Sure.
So
I agree with that.
Most people aren't going to be focused on the dining and sitting down at a restaurant. They're going to be like, give me a snack. Let's go.
Yeah.
We're on a mission.
We're on the move.
Or let me eat this peanut butter and jelly I stuffed in my back pocket. I don't care. I'm getting to the next ride.
I agree.
So it's great that we got that mix,
No doubt. And I think you nailed it. And even with time, right? You're looking years out. When people have been there multiple times, they're going to be able to enjoy that eventually. So I think that long-term thinking is awesome with the parks to still have those. Because it'd be very easy for them not to put the time into making these sit-down, very immersive dining experiences. But I could not agree more. I think from the start, everybody's just going to be grabbing and going as fast as they possibly can.
100%. So jumping into the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I think this is the last land to talk about. Yes, it is. Okay.
Great.
So we'll talk about that here. We'll talk about the few options here in the Wizarding World. Les Gobelets Noirs. I am not French.
I'm not sure if that's right.
Yeah, no, that's actually perfectly pronounced. In the shadowy corners of the Place Cachet, why are they doing this to me? Where international dark witches and wizards gather to escape the prying eyes of the Paris ministry, have a hearty meal over hushed conversation. So soup, salads, entrees, desserts. It sounds like a fun little spot. There is several French-inspired restaurants in this land because the Ministry of Magic is attached more to France and Paris and all that.
Sure.
So the next restaurant, I can't believe they're making me try to pronounce this thing. Café La Air de la Sarine. That was perfectly pronounced. Charming cafe.
Sure if that's right.
Where guests can delight in French sandwiches and desserts and things of that nature. French baked goods, sandwiches. Sounds like it's going to be very, grab and go, things like that. But let's get to the exciting thing here, Brian. Bar Moonshine. That's right. Order up exclusive beer, wine, or cocktails served amid U.S. Quidditch team pennants within the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. There's a bar at the new Harry Potter land coming called Bar Moonshine, where you get to enjoy Harry Potter-themed cocktails.
Holy smokes. I can't believe they attached moonshine to the actual
I know.
title.
This is
I wonder if
supposed
they'll have moonshine.
I mean, I hope so. Otherwise, it's false advertising. And I want a refund. I'm just kidding. And then last but not least, K. Ramel. There will be no shortage of French treats and delights here as well. Kind of like a French confectionery. So that's all the dining experiences coming to Epic Universe that we know of. As of now, it's late January here in 2025. So there might be more things that they're announcing. There's going to be obviously little beer stands, popcorn stands, churro stands, things of that nature throughout the parks that we're not going to be fully aware of. So hold off until you see everything. But regardless, super excited about all of it. Anything that you're most excited for?
No, I think I repeating myself, but it would be
Atlantic. Yeah.
That would be my go-to out of all of those. It's going to be cool. I mean, everything's going to have a separate experience. But again, that seems like it's more like, I wouldn't say outdoor, but it looks like you can see outside. You can see an aquarium. Yeah, I think that's going to be a really cool spot.
Yeah, I think for me, what I'm most excited for is the dining experiences inside of Dark Universe. They look so, dark, for lack of better terms. Yeah. Very spooky, very haunted. Just perfectly fills the land, and the theming looks really cool. So, I don't know. Either way, I'm excited for all of it. And definitely let us know in the comments which restaurant or dining experience you're mostly looking forward to. We're stoked for all of it. Of course, when Epic Universe gets here, we'll be covering a ton of new stuff for that, between actually attending the park, going to local resorts, covering all sorts of things. So be sure to be on the lookout for all of that. And welcome to the Explore Orlando channel. If you're new here, please do subscribe if you are new. And check out the rest of our content. We're super excited for Epic Universe to get here. It's getting here soon.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. Just feed off of that too. If you're watching this and you made it this far in, throw a comment in if there's any topics you want us to discuss. We deliberate on what we think we want to talk about and what would be intriguing, and hopefully that people are wondering or want to get in chatter about. But if there is something in specific in anything Orlando, let us know, and we'll make it a topic of one of these pods.
100%. If you want to know about local areas, if you want to know about, anything at all. If you're like, hey, Jared, tell me where I can get the best sandwich in a theme park. I don't care what the topic is. Just let us know because, by the way, I'm thinking about a few different sandwiches in theme parks.
Man, I'm hungry.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. No, but we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.